Welcome to the WTR Small Cap Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Tim Gerdeman, Vice Chair and Co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer of Water Tower Research. In today's podcast episode, I'm being joined by Tom McNamara, Director of Corporate Development and Investor Relations at Critical Metals Corp, NASDAQ ticker symbol CRML. Critical Metals Corp is a critical minerals company focused on developing world-class rare earth and lithium assets that support defense, advanced technologies, and electric vehicle applications, as well as playing a key role in the global energy transition movement. With its flagship Tanbreez rare earth project in Greenland and growing lithium portfolio, the company is working to build secure Western supply chains for materials that are essential to the future economy. Also joining is my WTR equity research colleague, Dmitry Silversteyn. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining.
Good morning, and thank you.
Good morning, Tim. I'm glad to be here.
Tom, the last few months have been unusually active for Critical Metals Corp, and the company has issued a number of press releases highlighting Critical Metals Corp accomplishments. Can you please start by giving us a big picture overview of the company, the opportunity you see in the market, and the long-term vision for what the company is building? And as a quick follow-on at a very high level, if investors only remember three key takeaways from all these recent announcements, what three would you want them to remember?
Thank you very much, Water Tower. I really appreciate it. What distinguishes Critical Metals Corp is one, Tanbreez, which we just consolidated 100% interest in. It's the largest known rare earth deposit outside of China or anywhere else. And importantly, about a third of it is heavy rare earths, which is the most important needed for the West for all of our endeavors to make a new supply chain. And with all our announcements, we are also consolidating our other positions in Greenland and outside. So there's much more focus on Tanbreez, advancing it. So it's streamlining, it makes it much more simple to get things going. And our press releases are showing that we're very active in Greenland. We announced a capital program of 30 million this year. We're deploying 5 rigs right now, and our other activities of building our core shack, core lab, and most importantly, our pilot plant installation, which is on the ground right now in Greenland, being assembled or erected. So just keep an eye out. We're very active. We're growing very quickly. And what distinguishes us is, one, the asset, two, our consolidating our position, and three, that we're beginning construction activities very actively right now as we're developing the asset, trying to make it the solution for the whole supply chain endeavor for the West.
That's a great overview. Thank you for that. Very exciting times in an exciting industry. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dmitry.
Thanks, Tim. Tom, welcome back. Glad to have you here on the program. One of the things you mentioned is what I would consider to be one of the most significant milestones here this year is the consolidation by Critical Metals of the ownership of the Tanbreez project. Can you walk us through why increasing your stake in Tanbreez was such an important achievement, and how it changes the economics, the decision-making authority, and overall value proposition of Critical Metals going forward?
Dmitry, thank you for having me again. It's great to be back. The consolidating our position or getting to 100% was important from us to go to a majority standpoint, and now 100% if we successfully take over our European lithium, which we're working on. Also, it streamlines the entire process we're going through, developing the mine and building it, because otherwise we'd have kind of too many bakers in the kitchen, so to speak. It just makes it much more simplistically to streamline it, be able to get one one representative to the Greenland government as their industry is growing. This will be probably the biggest investment in mining to date in their country. We take that very seriously, so we're trying to simplify it for everyone to make it go forward. It has no bearing on economics. We still have the same economic license within Greenland. So it's more of an efficiency endeavor to try to make things go much more smoothly as we're ramping up all of our activities in Greenland.
Understood. So I was thinking, going back to my days when I worked briefly in venture capital, one of the things that we hated to see from a company that we were evaluating is a complicated ownership structure. and I'm sure the banks and the investors that are looking at your company and you're trying to assemble your investment deck, your deck and your capital deck are probably approaching it much the same way. So having a simplified ownership structure, I think, would go a long way to helping you raise the capital that you need to advance these projects forward. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, no, understood. So investors often say that a resource is only as valuable as the market demand behind it, which is why your recent announcement of a long-term offtake agreement with RE Alloys attracted so much attention, I believe. How should investors think about the significance of this agreement, and what does it say about the commercial potential of Tanbreez and the demand outlook for rare earths products going forward, particularly the ones that aren't coming out of China?
I would, in the context of overall, I'll just like to reiterate our strategy, so to speak. We are, one of our distinguishing features corporately is to participate all the way through our supply chain. RE Alloys is a very important partner in that endeavor. It was great to make our contract finalized. I think the timing of it all is really speaks more of a bigger picture issue, because if we look at all the endeavor to try to reposition entire supply chain, there's one noticeably absent thing, and that's heavies, which really people need to remember that this contract is going to be a third heavy, so to speak, with Tanbreez's flow. So that's an important aspect of the contract. And it would be the first of its kind, of the largest of its kind, so to speak, for non-domestic sources of heavy rare earths to be distinguishedly processed here. And keep in mind, it's only phase one of our concentrate coming out of Tanbreez. There are going to be at least one more phase, and the size of the asset, we could triple or quadruple the size of it and still be around for 50 plus years. So the asset size is, I think, the more important thing in the context of it all. Our Romanian and Saudi, if you look at our concentrate output for phase one, 75% of it goes through our own supply chain. So that speaks to the asset itself. Tanbreez warrants its own supply chain. One, the Utilite really makes it uniquely as it is. And two, that's our whole strategy to participate all the way through the entire supply chain, all the way down to the end products as much as we can, because that would be more the value of the asset for which we think it is. So that in all that together, we've been very active on that. It's great to get the RE Alloys kind of finalized, and we look forward to getting all of our customers batch samples of concentrate material by the end of this year.
Understood. That's a very good overview. Thanks for that. Just moving on to, you mentioned this already. Many investors know critical metals primarily through your rare earth strategy. The proposed European lithium transaction expands the company's exposure to another critical commodity that is central to electrification and energy storage. What is the strategic rationale behind this transaction, and how should investors think about the value it could create as part of a company's broader growth strategy?
Our current focus right now is Tanbreez. That's the most important thing in our mind. Clearly, consolidating European lithium is very important to us. Financially, it's very beneficial. Again, streamlining and having one management team at the other side of all of our partners makes it a much more simpler operating environment and progressing environment. Lithium does fit in what we would consider that basket of strategic metals. Obviously, a different asset. Wolfsburg is obviously a different asset and at a different life cycle than where Tanbreez is. Tanbreez has moved a little faster up on it, so that is where all of our focus is. But it's a very important asset to us, and we're still trying to get that deal across the line, and that's really all I can say on that at this point.
Understood. Understood. Okay, well, let's go back to your Tanbreez project. A key focus for investors in any development stage mining company is understanding the size, the quality, the growth potential of its resource base, which makes your recent announcement of a 10,000-meter drilling campaign particularly important. You already referenced the fact that you can ramp up production there in subsequent phases and still have a multi-decade mine. But what are the primary objectives of the program, of the drilling program, and what would success look like from both a technical and a shareholder value perspective?
For the program specifically, in my mind, there are two important things. We're doing tremendous amount of definitional drilling. So we're really model drilling. We're defining inline infill drilling, so to speak, for block modeling our ore body, or two distinct ones, fjord and hill. So those are kind of live figures going into our models. And again, keep in mind our feasibility study is working all above this as we're going through all the things we're doing, all of our testing, et cetera. So the definitional drilling is going to be very important. There's going to be better outlines of where we start and how we're thinking intermediately about developing both ore bodies. And importantly, condemnation drilling. Not sure if people are familiar with that. There's so much ore around Tanbreez, we're having trouble finding places where to put things. So condemnation drilling is hopefully we don't find too much ore, where we can really think about building our critical buildings and infrastructure that we're going to need on land at Tanbreez. So definitional, and there will be lots of updates again with our core shack and ore handling and core handling and analysis abilities on land. Will be very quick around with what we're up to and better defining the ores and our modeling at Tanbreez. So stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Looking forward to that information. As exciting as recent announcements have been, investors ultimately want to understand the path from development to production and cash flow generation. So looking ahead over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months, what are the key milestones that investors should be watching as Tanbreez moves closer to becoming an operating asset?
I think the important ones are in my mind, from an operating standpoint, having the pilot plant up and running and getting material bulk sample amounts to our offtake partners and potential other end users. We're not speaking about grams, we're speaking about tons of material that will be going through their processes, all in Romania, RE Alloys, as we've mentioned, and also Ucore, and again, some others. So that's a very important thing to, again, as Dmitry, as I'm sure you know, there's still a Utilite, anti-Utilite crowd out there, which is going to prove, which we have and which has been audited by multiple third parties. Utilite can be processed to produce rare earth metals, both light and heavy. So that's very important, we think, not only for us and our partners, but also for the industry, that you have an asset backing it that could literally replace China.
Yeah.
In over time, if needed. So that's a very important aspect for us. Also, tying up our financing. We really don't need any capital for the foreseeable future, but we're still in talks with both sides of the Atlantic governments to some kind of financing and participation, but there's nothing to report at this point. And the feasibility with all of this, nothing is contingent on the feasibility, but a feasibility study. But we realize the market wants it, and we're working to deliver it as soon as we can.
Understood. Okay. Well, the critical elements sector has attracted significant capital in recent years, and certainly significant attention. Yet many projects continue to struggle to advance due to challenges related to financing, permitting, infrastructure, or commercialization. What do you believe differentiates Critical Metals from its peers in the mine development world and positions the company to successfully execute on its vision?
I think with respect to all that, the mining is I don't want to say simple, but the mining is the most straightforward aspect of the project. The port, building the port, we're not breaking any new ground here. There's nothing unconventional about it. Ore is literally at the surface. The mining is easy. The climate is not nearly as Arctic as people think. So that all operationally, clearly, we're going to pay attention to doing it and doing it right and as methodically as we can. But that is fairly straightforward. Consolidating our ownership makes that much more simplistic. And as I noted, our financing, we could finance most of what we need to do ourselves. One of our biggest financing questions is, who do we say no to? So we're not looking for billions and billions of dollars, hoping that somebody shows up. We're well suited for all of that. And for us on a daily basis, it's execution, just executing with what's ahead of us and doing what we say we're going to do.
Well, that's great to hear, Tom. It certainly is not common in this space to run into a company that is not falling over itself trying to find financing to advance the next stage of its development work. So great to be in that position, and obviously a great differentiator for investors. One final question I think I have to ask you before I let you go. The company has made substantial progress over the past several months through acquisitions, financing activities, commercial agreements, and project development initiatives. When we sit down together a year from now, what do you hope investors will view as the most important achievements of critical metals during that period? In other words, imagine we're talking a year from now and you're looking back on the last 12 months. What do you hope that critical metals has accomplished that you can brag about?
That we have every intention of bringing Tanbreez into a full-blown, the best mine I think I'm ever going to see in my career, and the best rare earths mine known out there, the cleanest, the greenest, and the most prolific in what it can deliver to what's needed in the world. A year from now, I think the question is going to be, how big can it get?
Very good. High class problem to look forward to. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Dmitry, thanks. And Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Nice reconnecting, and we appreciate getting the update on Critical Metals Corp. Have a great day.
Great. Thanks, WTR. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, as well as visiting www.watertowerresearch.com to stay up to speed on the company's small cap written research reports, podcasts, fireside chats, industry-specific symposiums, and conference schedules. We will see you next time for another edition of the WTR Small Cap Spotlight podcast. Finally, a special thanks to the producer and editor of the podcast, Krista Fitzpatrick.